Chapter 3. A Hard Lesson Learned. With a crash, the door to my room swung open. Boy, where are ye? It was mid-morning, and I had fallen asleep at the table. Raising my head to a blurred image, Edward saw fit to toss the table from under me. What was left of my supplies had been hurled onto the floor along with my painting of Hendon. Edward lowered his tone, but not his force, slamming his teeth together. "Get up and come with me now!" Grabbing the sleeve of my tunic, he lifted me off the chair and dragged me outside, though we did not leave through the front of the keep. We left through the back, dragging me on through the long barred tavern past the wine tables. The place was empty. "Move, go, hurry boy, move!" Pushing and shoving me outside through the underbrush, which was thick of bramble. I had not time to put my boots on. Scraping my feet along the twigs, I saw my father had blood smeared on the seam of his trousers. Barefoot again now, as I once was as a child, he brought me to the palisade wall. Opening the door's hatch, this time there was no guard inside. We went on to the outer wall, and through another hatch that lead into the Duke Gerwin's fields. I knew these fields well by now. Father had me tilling and turning this dirt and seeding it since my arrival. The crops in some places began to grow, though in others they were dead patches of earth. Father was leading me to one of these dead patches at the long end of the field. A chill ran down my spine. I thought, was he about to kill me? And couldn't help but wonder, I know I was something of a disappointment, but did I deserve this? Was I in some sort of trouble, or offered offence that would warrant such a punishment? Was I to blame for the dead patches of earth? Reaching the end of the field, my father Edward took me around a large mound of blackened earth, hand dug standing taller than I. Around the other side there were shovels and picks, a wheelbarrow and a dead man. His head split completely open. Brain and skull and eyeballs littered the ground. I could not contain myself whatsoever upon the sight of such unspeakable horror. Edward calmer now, I clear the wretch from my chin with my sleeve, still coughing. Though, my God, Father, what has happened? I managed. He tried to take it from me, boy. He tried to take it, and it is mine, he said, putting 2 hands on the ankles of the dead man. With a swift motion, he yanked the body down and out of the ditch. Hidden under the body were shards of green crystal, long and sharp shards, some as much as 2 hands long. They lay among the dirt and blood and teeth and bone and eyeballs at the bottom of the ditch. The sparkle of the crystals enchanted me so. For a brief moment I had forgotten the viscera before me. I outstretched my hand to take hold of one of the shards when a quick sting made me recoil. It was my father's bootstrap on my back. "Dunna ye even think of it, boy," Edward said as he knelt into the ditch, clearing the bits of brain and skull, his gaze fixed steady on the crystals, gathering them onto a square of cloth and neatly folding it over. "I was here digging the ditch with Goronwyn. With a swing into the dirt, did I find these treasures? Green emeralds? Yes, they must be green emeralds. Upon its sights, Goronwyn thought he may have them by way of murder. Had he not a choice in it?" Edward told the tale, never breaking his gaze from the crystals. Looking at my father's hands, I noticed something odd. Just then a rabble of noise was heard gathering in the distance. It were a group of men from our small treff. They came upon us enraged at the news that poor Goronwyn had been killed. As it was, he was a well-liked man among them. "Hey, what's the meaning of this?" one man shouts. "It's murder." "Murder, I say," another shouts. Edward calmed the crowd, telling the same tale he told me, showing unto the mob one of the bright green shards. "My son was witness. He'll support my claim." I could not believe what he said. Looking down at my father's hands once more, I then realized he had not the hands of man that had been toiling in the dirt all morning. They were near clean. The body of poor Goronwyn was filthy all over with blackened earth, his fingernails crusted with dirt. The foot patterns around the dirt were of feet smaller than Edward's, but not of poor Goronwyn. By now the rabble of about 20 men were all glaring my way, one man with a particularly hard stare. I remember his face was pale and gaunt and hardened with wrinkles he shone under a long gangly nose, his eyes a milky white film on them. His hair flaxen and straw-like falling shoulder length. He wore a rough-spun vest of dun colour. I could hear his teeth grinding. "Is that the way of it, boy?" one man said. "Come on now, out with it!" The pale man shouted. I stood silent. I did not want to lie, though there was no way I could betray my own kin. Anger and tension mounting as some in their rabble, still in disbelief, were silenced when Devon and 2 others stepped forward, each with clubs in hand. "That's what the master said, and that's the way of it! Now get back, Jacobus!" Devon shouted, placing his club near the belly of the pale man, and the rabble's roars came to a lull. My father looked down at me with a nod of approval, as he did Devon, who bowed in a peculiar way and saw to the dispersing of the rabble. The 2 men at Devon's side took up the shovels and the daunting task of burying poor Goronwyn. They carried him off. Edward, who forgot I was there, walked away. Under his arm was the folded cloth with the crystal shards tucked away. The one he showed the men he held in hand, looking as though he was trying to catch the sunlight with it. His face grinning in a way I had never seen before. eyes wide open with a wrinkle in his brow. His beard parted as his teeth shone under puffed-up cheeks. It was still mid-morning, and in only a few moments' time I found myself barefoot and alone in Duke Gerwin's field. The ditch still had fragments of poor Goronwyn's head strewn about when I spied a common stone close by. It was the size of a potato and was bloody. He used this and stove the man's head in, I'll wager. I thought, pushing the stone over with my bare foot. I am his accomplice in all things now. Treachery, deceit, murder, thievery, I am now somehow a part of all these things. Things I could have never dreamed of in my darkest nightmares. I knelt down in the dirt and prayed for forgiveness. But there in the dirt I did not find forgiveness, only bloodied and bruised feet. Poor Goronwyn's eye there in the dirt with a fixed gaze back up at me. Life, be it bitter and strange, I thought for a moment about him, and how upon awakening this morning, never did he believe that by mid-morning this very day that he would be apart. The very instrument of one's awakening here, staring up at me from the dirt, and the rest of him carried off to some dreary, remote, God-forsaken ditch in the forest. Nausea creeping over me again, I managed to pick myself up from the dirt and stagger back to the keep. Shuttering the door behind me, I would use a pitcher of water and a basin to wash. A torn piece of cloth to bandage my foot, I washed away the dirt from my face and hair. Standing, I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of the water. It seems to me I have grown a bit taller, about a half of a hand taller. Larger too, my toiling in the fields have given my scrawny arms and shoulders a bit of girth, though there really wasn't much that could be said about my face. Looking back at me from the water was a scrubber boy, with dark brown scraggly hair as long as his face, brown saggy eyes under thick brown caterpillar eyebrows. He had a slight tan from the fields, and a few hairs now grown on his chin, lip and cheek, still sporting the evidence of Devin's boot heel. I stood there for a moment, feeling like a wood pigeon. I should leave, gather my things, and go as far from here as I can, I thought, drying my face over the basin. If I stay, I'll either shame myself or be killed by one of the mounting threats that face this place. The De Jacques Treff was not a safe place, nor was Tenby, and I certainly could not return to Cardiff Hall. I know, I'll go south, book passage by ship, and leave Cambria for good. I dressed swiftly and gathered all my things. What was left of my supplies, my painting of Hendon rolled neatly, and my cloak draped on my shoulders. I made it to the door when I stopped. Wait, I have forgotten something, I thought. That's right. I left figures in the fire. Kneeling beside the fireplace, I plunged a hand into the cool ash and felt around. I wasn't sure what to expect. They've most likely crumbled or cracked. I wondered when I felt something hard in the ash. Pulling from the ash 2 hardened clumps caked with coal and ash, I placed them in the water basin and gave them a rub. Light shining in through the window into the water basin revealed first a vibrant blue tunic. Lewis. Rubbing harder, I saw a sun-kissed yellow with a long white dress. Mari. The 2 figures rendered spectacularly with colours bright and bold and a sleek hardened surface, but there was no time to admire them, for I was planning an escape. Stowing the figures no larger than a common chess pieces in my satchel, it was time to leave this place behind. Packed, I had crept my way down the stairs and into the long-barred tavern. Standing there among the empty wine tables, I realised if I was going to flee, I would need some payment to book a ship. My father Edward was now a wealthy man, though my own wages were scant. A half-copper seniog in 7 nights' labour would ensure I could not afford to go far on my own. It was a stupid idea, to steal from my father in this place. To be caught meant a severe punishment, and I know that my father would show no leniency. And from the ether in my mind arrived a thought. If I am entitled to any inheritance of my father, then I wish to take it now and never return. This place which has been built on lies and deception, and yes, even murder, I can no longer stand. Brushing past several of the Treff-goers, I made my way down from the keep to the new stables, keeping a sharp eye for my father and Devin. He owes me a horse. At least that much, I told myself confidently. It was a pity I was leaving in such haste and in such a state. Only a few copper saniog and the cloth on my back, I came to realise here that I was once again abandoning that which was supposed to be a place I could call home. I was a wreck of emotional tidal waves, crashing upon the shore of my own awakening. To my confusion, among the range of emotions I was feeling, there was one thing still lurking within the recesses of my desire. I did wish deeply to see those crystals once more. They gleamed with such brilliant light from within. I must admit to myself that since I set eyes upon them, the thought of them hasn't left me for a moment. What's more strange, even unto me, is I knew deep within that I cared not for the value of the stones. I cared not to possess them for riches or gain, no. There was something different about them. I had learned of gemstones in my studies, opals and rubies, emeralds and sapphires. As a boy at Cardiff Hall, I was privy to learn of such things, though not all my lessons were about the master and student. Some of my lessons I learned the hard way.